Welcome to today's tutorial for how to set up an event in the MIS. This is done by clicking New Event. To be able to have this New Event button, you have to be able to see this tab at the top. Only HQ access and anyone that HQ have delegated this tab to will be able to do this. So start by clicking this New Event button. And then we have to set a number of details, so the general information here, then communication details about the event, prerequisites, payment details, and then at the end, if there's any compulsory purchases, you set those up too. There's some other, this is the general event details. What we haven't set up here are the individual races or disciplines involved with the event, and any bespoke age categories, so you may need to set those up too. And you can look at those later. So we begin with giving this event an affiliation body it's associated with. So this one is SLSGB. You may only see one selection option there. Give it a name, a location, we also need to give this a status. So draft status means that this event, once you've saved it, it's still in draft form, so it won't be shown on public websites or other team manager accounts for them to be able to sign up to it. We need to show it as live for others to be able live for it to be able to show up, not live event closed. Event closed means that it's live on the websites, but it's closed now because it's gone past the closing date. You need to give it an event start date and an age cutoff date. So the age cutoff date is relative to your age categories that you've set up. For example, if you've set up an age category that is 30 to 34 years old, at what time of year do you still class them as 30 to 34? So it would be, for this event, we're going to say it's on the last day of this year. If they're still between that age category of 30 to 34, then it will be okay. This would then apply across all age categories. So if you had one that was 10 to 11 year olds, it would check that they're 10 to 11 on the 31st to 12th this year. Sometimes people get confused around this. Hopefully that clears that up. Need an entry closing date. So when do your entries close? I would suggest it's before the start date. Some events may have an early entry closing date and a late, so there might be one that's earlier than this normal one and later than this normal one. So those dates would have to be earlier and later respectively. Other options here, you can have a public entry opening date, so it displays the public entries on a certain date rather than at this default one. And it might have a closing date, so it won't accept entries after that date on the public online site. You can define the maximum amount of people in a team for male and female. That's in the club team overall, so they might each enter a number of different disciplines, but that's limiting. For example, it might be 6 male, 6 female. You would set that here. You could, if you want for information, give people a description of the event and say whether it's a club or national team event. Then you need to give some contact and communication details. Fill those in. Optionally, you could put your website, Facebook, Twitter, and any other event video or information packs you have. You can decide whether the notifications go to just the manager or just the entrant, and so on. So if you wish to define those, do that. And then you can define who this entry is accessible to. By default, the event will show on the public site, so will the results. Now this bit, the participant agreement, many events require a disclaimer or rules to be agreed to. So if yours does, then you need to tick this box, and you'd need to give a link to some rules. At the moment, for simplicity, we're just going to put the SLSGB website there, but it would normally have something on the end, for example, rules, where it's going to be going to. If you put an event image or logo in, that's what shows up on the public sites, so people can easily identify your event. And you might need to put some agreement email text for this box we completed up here. So when you tick that box, each participant that registers will receive an email, and it will ask them to click a box to agree to the rules of the event and that they've read that link that you've directed them to. That happens all automatically, and it does ask them to do that. So if you're adding text, it should just be something relatively simple like, "Thank you for entering our event." As I said, the rest of it is done, and the actual details of the agreement should be within your link. The next element, you can define whether there are prerequisites for someone entering this event. At the moment, this is allowing public records and affiliation body members. So let's start from this one. If it's an affiliation body member only, it means only someone who's subscribed to the current affiliation body that you've defined here can enter. So this would be Surf Life Saving Great Britain members only can enter. If we allow this option, then people who are not members, so members of the public, could also enter. And leave it at that. If we tick this one, it will enforce any prerequisites that the national governing body has defined for its races or disciplines. So, for example, there might be a certain award or qualification, like the Beach Lifeguard Award, that's needed to participate in some events. We're not going to restrict people today, but some of the events might require that. And it would check their record in the system before letting them enter. So their name may display, but when they go to enter, it will stop them. This one, if we did set it to affiliation body members only, their name, a non-member name, would not even show on the list if they're not currently subscribed. Then we add payment details, so you could define your own bespoke payment details. You'd have to say that you offer PayPal and then put a PayPal account name in. For simplicity here, we're going to use the affiliation body payment options. They've already defined a PayPal account, BACS details and check and so on that can be paid there, and we'll invoice them at the end for the amount due. Good idea to put a refund policy link in that goes out in the automatic emails when people register, so they're aware of this. Some of you might be required to do that. And then you need to set fees where this payment will go to. There's different fee types that each organisation chooses to use. So there might be an entry fee to enter each race or discipline. So that might be £5 for their board race, £5 for their swim race, £5 for their ski race. That's this type, and then you would not enter anything in any of these boxes. If you choose this option, one entry fee allowing entry to all races or disciplines, that means you're not requiring that individual fee for each race or discipline. It's one fee allows entry to everything. And in that case, you would definitely define your entry fee here for the overall event. So we're going to select this as £10. If you had an early entry date and a late entry date, you might want to select your fees for the 5 and 15, 5 and £15, for example, but we haven't set those. In addition, some events also have an option to pay a club registration fee, or not an option, it's a requirement. So if you put a fee in here, that is required on the first person that signs up. The team manager has to pay this club registration fee. So you may then have you will have this event detail here, but you may well have compulsory purchase option selected. If you do, then you need to select some of those races or disciplines that will be used for the compulsory purchase. At the moment there aren't any. So every event you need to add the races or disciplines that people want to enter. So to do that, you choose a race or discipline from the affiliation body list. So we're going to have a board race. They've already predefined some of these things. It's position, individual. We could change this if we want to, but that's the default settings that the affiliation body have set up. And you could say the maximum entrants that are allowed per team, per race for this. So per club or per club team. So you might only allow 2 people per club for this discipline for any one age category. Select the age categories that are available. So we'll add a youth category as well here. And save those. And when you update this, that will then update the fee options you could include. And if you had a race entry fee for each race or discipline, you could add those here. But it's not relevant because for our event we've selected one entry fee for the whole, to be able to enter everything, the whole thing. We'll save that. And the age categories that we were looking at were selected from this list. There's a very long list of categories that are used across the organisations. Typically you're not going to need to add any new ones there, but you can do it if absolutely necessary. You just use the ones that we've already put in. So this board race is now available as one of the race disciplines that's selected a mandatory discipline. So you could put this board race as one that's required to enter. The other ones might be optional for people to enter. So imagine we had a few more races, this might be required, the others are optional, and it would just mean that you have to pay for it on it checkout. Save that. And that's your event details set up.